Hey guys, welcome to Samco Workshop. Today we're going to talk about parts availability for new vehicles. Should it be something you're concerned with? You might hear a little rain in the background. It is storming out there. You might even hear my doors opening, but it feels so nice in here. It's like 71 degrees. Beautiful here for South Georgia. But talking about this is a factor here that's pretty interesting that we want to take into consideration, especially with the supply issues since COVID, okay? Since all that crap's going down. I cannot believe it's been 3 years and we still deal with these stupid supply and issues and all that stuff. It's ridiculous. But yes, you should. Part availability for new vehicles especially is tremendous. I thought about this for almost every vehicle I've looked at. I looked at what was going on with them, and we have some that I have either owned and seen firsthand, or researched because I wanted to own and seen firsthand. Obviously, I don't know what's going on with every vehicle out there. I'm more of a truck guy. I focus on that kind of stuff. And some of these are ones that I have personal friends and people that I know or myself had to deal with. But before we even get into that, it is especially true on a new vehicle. There is no doubt about it. If you are buying a first year any vehicle, part availability is going to be scarce. So if you have warranty issues, you are going to be in trouble. You may not have parts available. We're seeing that right now with the 23 Colorado, but fortunately for the 23 Colorado and the Canyon, they are very minor, insignificant problems. They are just a little nuisance, not a stranded, keep you stuck kind of thing like a lot of vehicles have had. So I mean, that was never I was never concerned about it. But you have people with the 23 Colorado that have they got screens that have acted funky and gone out, and they've had backup cameras that are failing, and they can't fix them yet. The parts are on order, but they are not available. They are on back order. We hear that quite often because they are new vehicles, so you don't have access to parts and things like that. But again, fortunately for that Colorado, very insignificant, minor little stuff, and the motor has been around long enough that it's not a concern there. But keep that in mind. If you are buying anything first year, you will have a issue. If you have an issue with the vehicle, you will have an issue getting parts or things to be replaced. It's just that way. Every single company has issues with that stuff too. Even at the Tundra, the 22 Tundra, when it came out, had a bunch of problems. People were waiting, but again, like the Colorado, they were insignificant, nothing major kind of issues. Where a lot of other brands, like other Chevy products, Jeep products, Broncos, everything out there, there's not a manufacturer that does not run into these issues. And it is a concern when you are buying a new first year vehicle. So new vehicle, meaning when I say new vehicle, I mean new design, basically, of the vehicle. So keep that in mind. Let's look at some of the ones that I've seen happen or have had happen to me, just as an example. When that Bronco came out, that new Bronco, the full-size one, these things were dropping valves left and right. The quality was horrible. Motors blown up because of it. And people were waiting 6 months. They would get a brand new vehicle. At 8,000 miles, the valves would break loose. They'd be gone. And these guys are sitting there for 6 months waiting for their vehicle to be fixed, sitting in a loaner car. For 6 straight months waiting on this stuff because of part availability. Look at when a new generation Tacoma came out. It took them a couple of years to realize that the frames were rusting out like they were garbage. They were rusting out like crazy. And then it took them another 2 years to even offer a replacement almost on that and get people to get frames fixed and start applying some sealant in certain areas and little band-aids on stuff. It's not till this next generation, or till the new generation, hopefully the 2024s have that fixed. But 2022 and 2023 were the first years they actually started incorporating this foam in there, basically like a heavily foamed acrylic type, some kind of proprietary sealant to help prevent rusting in key spots of the frame. But after all that time, but there were people waiting years for frames on their vehicles that were completely rusted out in 2 years of ownership. So these things happen. Right now, Jeep has still got a manual, all of their the manual Jeeps, because when I bought my Gladiator, I wanted a 6-speed trans. I wanted it bad. I was like, I'm buying it as a manual. I haven't owned a manual in a long time because I tow so much. Now I sold my pressure washing business. I don't need to tow as much. Where I'm not doing it daily. I want a manual. When I started looking around at my Gladiator to buy it, you can't buy a manual Jeep right now. Wrangler or a Rubicon or a Gladiator or a Wrangler, they have been on lockdown and no sell hold on them because they have a problem with the clutches catching on fire. This has been going on for like 7 months and people are still waiting to have manual transes to try and get this. And again, dealers have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of these manual transmission vehicles on their lots. When you go looking at an online place and you go looking at deals on Wranglers and Gladiators, and you see really good deals on the manuals, they're fake. Okay, because they can't sell those vehicles. They can't sell them right now because they cannot put they don't have a new clutch to put in them. And the old clutch is on lockdown on a recall, so they can't move them. So they advertise them real low to get you in the door, and then try to sell you an automatic for a lot more money with a lot less rebates and a lot less deals. Okay, I just found that out. Now, fortunately, I killed it on my deal on my Gladiator, so I'm happy. But I wanted a manual, couldn't get one. But this has been going on for a year for those guys. Okay, so this is common. You know, things happen. Part availability can be a real issue. When I bought my 2019 Ram Diesel 2500. I had it for like 8 months, and then they put a recall on the fuel pump. They put it, you know, they were new pumps in there, but then they wanted to go back to the old one. There was I drove that thing for 2 years waiting on a recall on a list to get a new fuel pump put in, whatever it was, going from a C3 to a C4, I can't remember, or going back to a C2, I don't remember what it was. But the fuel pump in there was a problem, but fortunately for me, mine never had an issue. But it was even on the recall list when I sold that truck still too. And the guy who bought it from me knew that. I sold it outright, and he made sure, and I even gave him the information of my dealer and where I'm on that recall list at, and my spot in line to get one, and I'm sure he got it taken care of. But like I said, I waited well over a year from the time I had that truck until I sold it, and then I don't know how much longer it took. But where if your fuel pump went out, you were in trouble. They did not have them available to give to you to fix it. Silverado, people with the transmission issues that they had, 5 years ago or whatever, waiting a year with their vehicle completely done. They cannot drive it because they're waiting on parts. F-150s, when that 2.7 first came out, when I had one of those, my neighbor across from me waited 8 months to get turbos replaced on his 2.7. 8 months in a rental car. 8 months in a rental car because his brand new truck was think about that. That's over half a year that his truck, and he's driving around in a little Ford. What's the little? The little bitty the EcoSport or whatever it was is what he's got to drive for 8 months while he's making payments on a brand new F-150 because they don't have the turbos for him, and they went out on a brand new truck. Okay, so this stuff happens. Jeep lockers went through this too. Gladiators, that kind of stuff. But the lockers, the rear locker, especially once you start re-gearing and doing things in there or start playing with them, those lockers can go out. Well, it's just an electrical issue, but Jeep's solution to it was to replace the entire axle. The entire axle, contents of the diff, the whole entire thing, and they were on back order for well over a year. So finally now they got it fixed and said it's just a sensor. We can get the sensor, but they're even hard to find now too. But when it was happening to people, they were waiting a year. So they had a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon or a Gladiator Rubicon, and they had no lockers. Their lockers wouldn't work because they were on back order for the whole axle assembly. Finally, other people came around with workarounds for that and plugins that would bypass the sensor and let them get their lockers back. But Chrysler failed on that. Okay, and it cost people a year without their truck. Without having lockers on their trucks. So this is a reality. Okay, this is definitely a reality. It is much worse with a first year. Okay, this is important. First year or even second year, but that one is the key. So just let that be something to consider and keep in mind if you're buying. When you're buying a first year vehicle of any kind, I don't care if it's an SUV, I don't care if it's a car, I don't care what it is, part availability for them can be really hard to get, and it can cause you some real downtime. Part available for any vehicle right now is stupid, ridiculously scarce. It is a nice bonus on Jeep and on Tacoma and on Silverado even, and 150, a lot of these, because there are aftermarket companies that have seen some of these issues and they have things out, especially when you start talking Jeep. Okay, because Jeep, you can basically build an entire Jeep with all aftermarket parts. So there's always a fix out there somewhere for that kind of stuff. But let this be something that sinks in for you, that this is a reality. This is something you need to take into consideration. If you buy a brand new model vehicle say this 2024 Tacoma that's about to come out, and it has any issues, you very well could fit into any of these categories. Or if you buy any new vehicle, like I said, there are tremendous amounts of people that have suffered from all of these things that are basically spending tremendous amounts of time without their vehicle because of part availability. So let that just be something that you kick around in the back of your mind. Let it be something you think about, especially in the uncertainty in the times we have right now. Heck, next week I think the UAW goes on strike. If they do or don't, I don't know. I haven't been paying much attention to it. But if they do there too, it's going to be even bigger issues. Okay, so let that be something that you just let roll around in there when you're trying to make your next vehicle purchase or you're thinking about stuff. So thanks for watching.